Hi, my name is Josh, and I'm going to explain an activity that you can use to set the stage for talking about potential failure or some of the uncertainty that may be surrounding your project work. So for this activity, you're going to need to select a body of work. You'll need the team that's working on it. I like to use a whiteboard and ideally some pens and papers, but people can also do their own on the computer as well. So this is an activity around, it's called a VUCA Bullet Map. And VUCA was a term that was introduced by the US Army War College to discuss conditions in a post-Cold War era. It stands for volatile or subject to change with frequent and rapid changes, uncertain, events or outcomes are unpredictable, complex. There are a multiplicity of issues and factors, often which they're quite interconnected. And finally, ambiguous. There's a lack of clarity and understanding about what the exact situation at this moment is. And pretty quickly, the business world realized, hey, this actually sort of relates to a lot of the work we're doing, especially in projects of, thought work, knowledge work, innovation. So we're going to turn this VUCA lens onto a specific project. So to do that, you're going to prompt team members to create the following diagram. So we'll begin with 5 circles, getting larger. So a small 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 lines that cross-sect it, bisect it. And this is our very elegant bullet map. Now we'll then want to make sure we name which dimensions. So volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So we have volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And then finally, we're just going to number the dimensions. This is a 4-point bullet map. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can do this on the computer if you prefer to make it a little bit more exact, but there's something sort of nice about creating it in the moment, and it sort of goes to the informality of the discussion. So at that point, you're going to prompt team members to rate their perspective of the project work on a 1 to 4 scale of each of these dimensions. Now, it's really important to remember that this isn't about an activity of persuading. It's not an activity about who is right on the amount of complexity. Rather, the focus of this is to provide a structured format to surface perspectives that may otherwise have been left unsaid. And we'll talk about the fact that some people may change their mind and rank 1 higher or lower, but the goal is really to provide a platform for discussion. So prompt each member to rank their perspective of these 4 dimensions on their own individual map. Once that's complete, you'll have each person just come on up and rank where they go. So you might have some people putting dots here. Others may really cluster, in certain areas. Obviously, this is just done for example here, and we have 4 different people who have now rated on this. The first area we'll turn our attention to is that which has the greatest range of responses. So here probably around complex or maybe volatile. We have a few different ranges as well. And so within that, we're going to ask team members at the more extreme ends of those range to share their perspectives. What did they notice that chose them or that led them to rank a 4 for complex as opposed to 2? As the discussion's happening, you may want to ask if this discussion changes what those people who may have been ranking in the middle, if they're leaning one way or another, or maybe if it has someone in the extreme rate theirs towards the center more. The next area that you'll want to be focusing on are what are those dimensions with the highest cluster in the highest points. So in like the 3s or 4s. So here we'll see that everyone's really rating this as uncertain. And the discussion we'll want to be having here is what are some of the assumptions or some of the reasonings, premises that we're taking to say that this is very uncertain work. We'll want to discuss, can any of these assumptions be tested? Are some of them untested but just taken for granted? And what might be some ways that we could try and mitigate or ease the impact of this so we could begin to somewhat slightly lower it? Throughout the discussion, you'll want to make sure that you're taking notes because very likely there's going to be some new risks or perspectives surfaced or even some strategies to mitigate it or potentially solve a risk. As you sort of wrap up the discussion, you want to once again remind that it's not designed to eliminate the volatility within a project situation or the ambiguity. I mean, most likely that's going to remain regardless. It's just a example of the world we're in. But rather, this is to surface observations that may be taken for granted for one team member, but yet unseen by another, or to begin the discussion of the interdependence, the need for voice that people need to, speak up to share their thoughts. And then finally, if applicable, you want to make sure to review any of the, new risks that have emerged and whatever action steps those may be. I hope this activity helps. It is a great example of an activity to foster a climate of psychological safety. It provides an explicit format, a specific forum for people to surface their ideas, their perhaps counterfactual perspectives, and it emphasizes the importance for voice for all of those participating. Thanks so much. I'd love to hear your thoughts or comments or questions below. And I'm always interested in talking about psychological safety, learning, movement, and ways of creating great employee cultures. Have a great one. Thank you.